Joel Osteen is a highly controversial Christian because he tries to, I think, boil things down to really, really simple things to get people to understand that your life can be a lot better than it is today. And he doesn't always go the way of pounding the pulpit. And that makes some pulpit pounders sometimes a little angry. But I appreciate his message, and I think he is a rock star for the Lord. His new book is called Breakout: 5 Keys to Go Beyond the Barriers and Live an Extraordinary Life. And he happens to be in New York today, and we're in New York, so welcome.
Hey, thanks, Glenn. It's always great to be with you.
Good to be with you. I want to talk to you about, I was in a meeting 2 nights ago, and I was it was a power table. There were about 10 people around. They're all very, very powerful people, and they were the most depressing people I have been around because they feel like they've had the stuffing kicked out of them, and they don't feel like anything makes a difference anymore. And I said to them, "That's good. This is good news." And they said, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "No. Because now you've surrendered. Now you know nothing you can do as a recovering alcoholic. Once you surrender, your life's about to change."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so good. Absolutely. You know, sometimes when you try to do it all on your own, you don't need God's help. But, you know, when you come to that point and you say, you know what, I can't do it without his help. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we are at now. I hope we don't have to hit bottom harder than this one.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's so many people out, you know, with this, and I don't want to get in politics with you, but the, universal health care, with what it is already doing with putting more people out of work, and people have been out of work for so long. I worry that we are losing, or could lose, the drive and the hope that it takes to be able to pick yourself back up again. So,
yeah.
And so tell me about the 5 barriers here.
Well, I think, Glenn, what you said, there are a lot of things in life pushing people down. I mean, that's probably an understatement, but I really believe that, you got to get up each day and you got to fight that discouragement. It's easy to get bitter and lose your drive, like you said, but I believe when you get up in the morning, you got to find something to be grateful for. I believe how you start the day many times will determine what kind of day it's going to be. Doesn't mean it's going to be a perfect day, but when you get up and you think, I don't want to go to work and I got all these problems and, feeling like cleaning the house, it's just going to draw on the wrong things. I believe when you get up and you say, God, I want to thank you for this day. It's a gift you've given me. I believe I'm a person of purpose and destiny, and find something that you're grateful for. If you have healthy kids or a roof over your house or whatever it is, a roof over your head, I think that helps to start the day off in the right way.
I have done 2 things. I started about a year or so ago, not asking for anything. I don't want to ask in my prayers. I did this for about 2 months. Don't ask anything in your prayers. Just learn gratitude.
Yeah.
And so all my prayers were just thank you for this. Even the things, and maybe most especially for the things that are really coming up in the obstacle, I looked for a purpose in that. I looked for, okay, this is what I'm learning in this. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's so powerful. It's a great season to go through, and a great way to live your life. A lot of the prayers I pray, it's just what you said. It's just, Lord, I want to thank you for my children. Thank you for health. And even like when you get to that point where you can recognize that in adversity, God has a new level on the other side of that challenge. I really believe God doesn't allow an adversity unless he has a purpose for it. It's hard always to, I can't explain it all the time, but if you keep the right attitude, God can bring you out better than you were before.
Hard times made us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard times made us.
Absolutely.
I've been reading a lot of stuff about Walt Disney lately, and he had quite a vision there towards the end with Epcot, which is nothing like what the amusement. He wasn't even going to build an amusement park down in Florida. It was to totally redesign a city, and that's what he's working on. And he put all the plans on film a month before he died. And I was really studying that time period in his life, and I thought to myself, So why, God, that would have done so much good. Why is he gone? And then I realized, well, he died of cancer. And there's some things that, the Lord's not going to save you. If you are being destructive yourself, you might have a great purpose. And that's not what the Lord was planning for you, but you've decided you're smoking. So, well, okay.
Yeah.
And so it's not a punishment, and God's not going to save you from yourself. He'll try, he'll remind you, he'll give you the cough and say, stop, Walt, stop.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, so yeah, absolutely. That's true. You got to take care of what God's given you, and you can't, you can't go against His ways and purpose and expect to, Him to bail you out every time. So I'm a big believer, like you're talking about. You take care of your temple. You do what you can do. When you do the natural, then God can do the supernatural. But sometimes we're, expecting God. I heard somebody say, it was good the other day, the best thing to do is not to need a miracle. You take care of yourself, and you live the right way, and you're not always needing something supernatural to happen.
Right. We are in a place now in our society where people don't recognize the difference between good and evil. They can't see it. We had a discussion before we went on the air for about 20 minutes of this show called Breaking Bad. I've not seen it, but it's huge right now. And it's not like The Sopranos, where The Sopranos made Tony Soprano into a hero, and you liked him, and you were rooting for him. This guy, the bad guys are really bad guys, but it is such darkness. And one of the guys who's a writer on the show said, man, I couldn't watch another episode for a couple of days because it just made me feel awful. And I said, why are you doing that? You're drinking poison every day. And he said, no, this isn't, because you're not rooting for the bad guys. Is there a reason to put that bad stuff in you for entertainment purposes?
I think, Glenn, you're right. It's important what we feed ourselves every day. And, it's difficult to feed on the wrong things and live a positive, faith-filled life. And I haven't watched it as well. I know it's incredibly important, like you said, but I'm a big believer in what you put in is going to come out, and it's
which you gaze upon, you become.
Yeah, it's so important. And, nowadays, not just that show, there's so many different, ways we can feed ourselves, just the wrong kinds of food. I read where an eagle will only live off live food, and that's how he has his strength and his vision and can soar. But, you look at some of these other birds, they live off of dead food, and they never rise very high. I think that's an important analogy in our own life. Feed off good things. Fill yourself with the right things, and you can rise higher.
Okay, so we've got about 3 minutes here. Tell me why somebody should go out to the bookstore and do what fewer and fewer people are doing: buy a book and read it.
Yeah, I think the premise, Glenn, is, again, there's so many things pushing us down in life. That book's filled with faith and encouragement. I think the real message of the book is it's easy to get stuck and think, this is good enough. My marriage is not what it should be, but it's good enough. And I got this addiction, but I can live with it. The book is about, you can break free from that. Take the limits off yourself. Take the limits off of God. Believe that there are good days up ahead. And it's simple things that we all know, but I think it just inspires people to rise up and not settle where we are. The Bible even talks about, stepping into the fullness of your destiny.
Right.
I've been blessed, but I think God wants us to continue to go further.
How much do you think even the successful people, or I shouldn't say successful, I mean spiritually successful, happy people, how much do you think the average person is experiencing in the fullness of their destiny? What percentage do you think?
I think it's very small. I think it's very small because we limit ourselves. We get focused on the wrong things, but it's not that we can't move forward though now. And so that's the whole challenge is, I talk to people, Glenn, I'm the wrong nationality. I don't have the connections. I don't have the money. I've had this addiction since I was young. I've been raised by negative people.
Doesn't matter.
No. And we're all living testimonies of that. And so that's the whole thing. God's not limited by our education, our social standing. He's put dreams, desires, his purpose, his destiny in every one of us. He's breathed his life into us. And I think when we take the limits off of him, Even myself, I didn't think I could get up and minister. Thought I'm not a minister. I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, when your father passed away, you were the last guy,
I
right?
was the last one. But I felt it down in here. And I could have easily thought, you know what, that's crazy. But, I took that step of faith, and I think, again, you break out of those wrong mindsets and think, I'm going to set a new standard for my family in godliness, in excellence, in whatever, in the career-wise. So I just think that's what can help push people along.
What do you call that? I went to see you in Chicago, and I went with Vince Vaughn, of all people. And he called me up, and he said, hey, this is going on. He said, we want to come. And I'm like, I'm stunned by several things in this, but you're going to see Joel speak in Chicago. And he said, yeah. So we went, and it was really great. In fact, one of the events that I did Restoring Love.
Yeah.
That I don't know if I've ever told you that. That was inspired by you.
Oh, fantastic.
That was inspired by that night.
Wow. What
I saw you do and the way I saw you lift people up, I thought that is so important that we're doing that. And you're doing that. You still do that once a year.
Yeah, we do it actually once a month.
And once a month?
Once a month, and once a year we do in the big baseball stadiums like
Okay.
you were with us in Chicago. But, and I saw your event from Israel as well. That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know you're coming to New York this year, and please let us know well in advance so we can get tickets, but also so people can see it, because, boy, does this area need some spiritual awakening and also some positivity. People, I think people are just getting beaten down. All over the country, people are getting beaten down. And I think we're on the verge of something really good if we choose it.
That's right.
If we choose it.
I agree with you 100%. And, appreciate everything that you do, Glenn. Appreciate your friendship.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, the name of the book is Break Out, 5 Keys to Go Beyond Your Barriers and to Live an Extraordinary Life. If you have never read any of Joel's books, I'm sure you've seen him, but if you've never have, start here. Break Out, available in bookstores everywhere.